Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Flow Over Fear, where I'm going to recap the interview that I just had with Jamie Gruber. And I got to say that I was so starstruck actually interviewing the Jamie Gruber, which, if you don't know, if you're part of GoBundance, which is the mastermind group that I am a member of, you will know Jamie as kind of the master of ceremonies of the entire thing. He runs the podcast. He does a lot of the interviews for the Tribe of Millionaires. He's one of the brand ambassadors there, and a bit, just a huge value add guy in there. And I have really looked up to him as somebody who has inspired me on many, many different ways. He's inspired me on the life that he's led, the transformation that he's made, and just this transformation that he's made into his authentic reality and this authentic person that he is. Having come from a background of working as an executive for an insurance company, which I know sounds totally exciting, right? But working his way up through an insurance as a claims adjuster into the executive leadership roles, into a life of lifestyle fulfillment, a lifestyle coach, and building a lifestyle brand while living in the Dominican Republic, and helping create millionaires. I mean, what an ideal life is that? Truly a life of service. And this was a great interview because there was a ton of value added here. And I cannot begin to reshape all of that value that was added. I can only tell you that you need to go listen to this interview. And that whole hour-long interview just was value add after value add. And if you feel like you're stuck in a rut, if you feel like you're stuck in your job or wherever it may be, and you feel like you don't have a path out, or you don't have a path forward, or you don't really have that clarity, listen to this episode and learn some actually valuable tactics on how you can take that leap, how you can start to take that leap away from this thing that isn't fulfilling for you into a life that is more fulfilling. He started off in this interview by sharing a lot of his story and how he kind of started out, where he was, really kind of, I don't want to diminish him, but where he was driven by ego in terms of how he wanted to excel in his career, going from a claims adjuster to an executive. He wanted to get to that pinnacle in that job. He wanted to go from being in the claims adjuster job to hustle to get to the manager job, hustle to finally get to that executive role, which he thought at that point that he would find that fulfillment. But ultimately, once he got to that point, he realized something. He realized that fulfillment really wasn't there, and that it wasn't the thing that would make him happy. He had the 6-figure income. He had the title. He had all that he thought he wanted, but he really realized that it wasn't authentically what he wanted. And he had this point where it was where what he called the breakdown and breakthrough, where his authenticity battled his ego, and his authenticity finally got leverage over that ego. And after joining GoBundance and trying to come up with a 10-year plan or a 10-year objective of exiting that job and relying on passive income, ultimately within a couple of years, he was able to leave his job and start his lifestyle brand and lean into something that filled him up. And the way that he did that, and he talked, I dug into this a little bit with him because fear definitely plays a role in keeping us in situations that may not make us happy. If we're in a higher level management position, or we're in a job where we don't think that we can get out because we need the paycheck or we need whatever, or we're just not fulfilled. There's really 3 things that might be, that might help us to get over that fear. And he called them the 3 C's. The first was clarity. What what is the vision? What's the vision for your life? What do you want to achieve? And getting clarity on that is important. The second one was confidence, is having the confidence to be able to do that. It's that identity shift of moving from the person that you think you are now directly into that person that you want to be. And then finally, the biggest piece, and again, this keeps coming up in all of these interviews. So listen up, people. Community. That's right. Surrounding yourself by the right community, the community of people that have what you want and can help you get there, and that you can lean into and serve, by the way. You can't just take from the communities that you become a part of. You have to find a way to serve. And that was a powerful thing that Jamie was able to find within GoBundance. Was in entering into it, he just didn't know really, how am I going to serve this community? How am I going to serve, all of these people that already have everything that I want? I don't have anything that they want, right? But he found a way. He understood that even if it wasn't the financial means that he could contribute, he could contribute his time. He could contribute his talents as someone who is a great connector, as someone who can connect people and bring people together. That was his superpower, and it is his superpower. And that's how he became such an influential person in that group as well. That's how he came to start or be involved with a large fund, an investor, and all of these different projects that he's involved in. He made that identity shift from W-2 employee to entrepreneur, and that was the shift that changed him. He mentioned, when we talked about fear, he mentioned that fear is really hierarchical. Is that how you say that word? It's easy for me to say. Well, you know what I mean. There's 3 layers to it, fear, and that really is uncertainty. So uncertainty is really that first layer of fear, and then the second layer is failure. We all have that fear of failure, right? That we don't want to fail. And then the final layer of judgment. We're afraid of being judged by others. If you're a people pleaser like I am, you know where this part comes from. And that's the thing about that first level, that first layer of uncertainty, is that, and something that Jamie brought up, which is a quote from somewhere, is that people fear uncertainty more than they crave happiness, and that's what keeps them stuck. So he really delivered a lot of value in terms of some practical advice on what people could do as someone who has made that shift themselves from something that was unfulfilling, from that period of time where he had that breakdown and breakthrough, and became something that he wanted to become. And it was a powerful message. The first part about that is that we want to make sure, that he said, is that make sure we're running towards something, not just away from something. If you are unhappy with your job, it's not a great idea just to give them the middle finger, run out the door, and say, and say you're done, right? Don't burn bridges. It's not about that. It's more about building something that you want to run toward. That's kind of it. That's kind of the magnetic, law of attraction that exists in this universe that we all want to strive for. Is that if we're building something that we want to move toward, we're more likely. There's such a powerful attraction to it if we're just focused in the direction of where we want to go. So building something to run toward rather than something we're running away from. And then the second part of what he was saying was, you really want to have about 6 months of reserves, or, up to a year, or however much that is for you, but that you want to build that and then get creative on how you can accomplish that. Right? I mean, you can look at your expenses. You can look at those kinds of things to figure out if you have that runway for yourself. Once you have something that you're passionate about, that you have clarity on where you want to go, and you're willing to go in that direction, and you have that financial runway, now you have this direction in this timeline, and then you can start to take that next step of moving in that direction. And if your fear is the uncertainty, that's a way to get clarity, is to really build something to work toward, and make sure that you have that period of time where, that runway. And then if the fear is really the failure, well, failure is just a change in perspective on what failure is. As W-2 employees, we may think of failure as something that's an end of something that's like, well, we didn't succeed, and therefore we classify ourselves as failures. We actually put that definition on ourselves. But to an entrepreneur, to somebody like that, that's part of the process. As Jamie said, and this was a tweetable moment, he said, failure is part of the formula. Failure is part of the formula for success. It's a series of small failures working together to make that grand success. And he left with, if he was to give one piece of advice to people out there that were, in that mode of just not being happy in their position, and they didn't feel like they had clarity, he had this piece of advice. Was to take a bit of a clarity break. It was to get away from the office, get away from your house, go out by yourself just for 3 days, wherever it may be, rent a hotel room, go on a trip, go into the mountains, whatever it may be, just go out by yourself with a notebook and start journaling, start meditating, start thinking about that kind of thing to get that clarity on what you want to do and answer those questions of, not how do I, don't get into the tyranny of how, but ask yourself, who do I serve? These are the same questions that Jamie's that Jamie's asking and helping other people ask in his mastermind that where he brings people out to the Dominican Republic and he actually helps people through this process. But if you do that every quarter, you're able to get you'll be able to get better clarity, and you can do what he called passion pairing, which is, basically you take the combination of these three elements, which are, what do I love? And you add on, what am I great at? So you find, what is your passion? What do you love? What, do you love your kids? Do you love your wife? Do you love this? Do you love playing music? What is it? What am I great at? What are you really good at? And then, when you piece those two together, you find out really where you can add value. And when you have that, you can get this clarity of direction that can put you on the path toward, taking that step beyond fear, beyond uncertainty, beyond the failure, beyond the judgment, and moving yourself in a direction of getting those 3 C's that he's talked about. So then you can get the clarity and you can build the confidence, you can have that identity shift, and now you can lean into a community of like-minded people. This was a great interview with Jamie, and I'm so glad. I was really looking forward to this one because I've been looking up to Jamie in terms of his journey and where he's gone, where he's come from, what he's building. Really excited to see what he's doing. He's helping people to kind of get beyond that fear, and I'm excited to see where he takes it from here. And if you want to, I really advise, if you haven't already, listen to or watch the episode. It's a really good one. You'll get a lot of value from it. And follow Jamie. You can find him. You can listen to the podcast, the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from GoBundance, or you can reach out to Jamie directly. You can find him on all the socials. He's also building a YouTube page, or you could look up Emerge Supercharged, which is the lifestyle brand that he's building. Just Google Emerge Supercharged. You'll find it there. And until next time, thanks for joining me on this recap episode. We'll see you next time. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.